So I was a friggin' hero.
That's super cool.
It actually was. I was pretty proud of myself. And that got back to Toronto, where the head office was in London. And the guys in Vancouver offered me a job out there. And I said, I'd love to, but I can't.
Yeah.
We were on this one slope just outside of, I think the name of the town was Parksville. And it had been raining. I'd been there for 3 weeks, and it had rained for 2.5 of them. Mm-hmm. And the slope gave way underneath my feet. Ooh. I could feel it moving. It shifted.
Welcome to the Flaman Connect podcast, where we share real stories, experiences, and insights from people who know agriculture today and care where it's going in the future. We're going to do some fun farm animal facts. Let's start with cows. Mm-hmm. So cows can sense a storm coming, and when they sense a storm coming, they'll lie down.
Is this a true or false?
No, this is farm facts. This is true.
This is true.
These are all true. All true. There's no...
I find myself being skeptical when Trevor talks like, hey, is he going to give me a multiple choice? Is it true or false? No. Is he just stating a fact? Do I need to think about... Yeah.
When cows sense a storm coming, they will lay down.
Yeah. Well, if that was true or false, I would have said true. But then I was also going to say they put their arse end into the storm. But
horses do that.
Okay.
Yeah, horses do that.
Yeah.
Really?
You didn't know that?
Put their back
I
to
did not know that.
Back to the storm, yep. Okay. Did you know that cows can recognize their names? They might not answer, but they do recognize their names.
False. I'm telling you, father-in-law is a cattleman, and man,
just because they don't answer doesn't mean they don't recognize it.
Okay,
you have
fair
kids,
enough.
right?
Fair. Yeah, there's a difference between hearing and listening.
True.
Yeah.
Not necessarily, right? Yeah.
So then, how do we know that that's true?
How do we know that?
Well, because sometimes they will respond, right? Especially like the 4-H ones.
Yeah.
Like if you spend a lot of time with your 4-H calf.
Like most pets.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, did you know that cows have a memory of about 3 years? I don't know how this is measured, but there has to be some sort of a metric that they judge this by. But
yeah, again, how do they know this? This seems very
because 3 years later, when he called his name and he didn't come back, he's like, oh, I must have forgot. Write that down. Yeah.
But 3 years, 1 month wouldn't happen.
Okay, the last one on cows, that cows are social animals. They form bonds with each other. So in a herd, they'll have stronger bonds with other ones. So they'll actually form cliques within the larger herd.
True.
Yep.
Yes.
Yep.
Okay, that's probably going to annoy
me.
I would absolutely believe that. The other stuff with the memory is like, well, I don't know. They're a big enough animal that maybe they're not super dumb.
Yeah. They don't seem that bright. I don't know.
So
I guess what we've learned is cows are smarter than what we had anticipated.
Yeah, I guess they are. Okay, now let's bring on Shaun Gettis, VP of Sales for Flaman, and we're going to talk ag specialty trailers. Now, Mitch, this sounds like something that you should start.
What other ag specialty trailers did you think may be a good fit at Flaman?
Well, we've been building sprayer tenders for a few years now, and the market's responded incredibly well to those. And we just thought we could keep it simple, do it better, provide capacity and efficiency, and make life a little easier. And so we have 3 models. We're working on another one. We hope to have ready for Ag in Motion. One is a basic unit that carries 8,000 gallons of water and is plumbed with a boom to easily connect your 3-inch line to the sprayer, the stair kits, the handler, tote storage. Real nice unit. Lots of thought, time, and engineering has went into that. And if we can do it for probably less than you can buy all the stuff for, and hopefully we've thought of most of the things that if you're going to try and do it yourself, you may miss or have some regrets on. And then the second one is the same configuration with a 1,600 gallon hot tank as well. So what that allows you to do is have a batch brewing or bubbling, ready for the sprayer to pull up and blow on.
Mm-hmm.
Pre-mixed, prescribed, and so that the operator can take his 5 minutes while you blow this on, and you're not mixing, you're not doing all that sort of stuff, essentially saving sprayer time, hours, and getting more done in a day.
Awesome.
And then our third one is, we call it the ST9400, is a sprayer tender that will haul the sprayer.
And that's got fuel on it as well,
There's
right?
a few things that are, for sure.
Cool.
There's a few unique features specific to our Flaman sprayer trailer. Can you talk about some of those?
The trailers we order are custom, which have so they're a step deck with a longer upper to facilitate the water tank.
Mm-hmm.
There's some other configurations that we custom order to make sure that it'll work with the plumbing, the flow, and Benke, our vendor, has been really great to work with. They built like a brick shit house.
Mm-hmm.
They're meant to climb in and out of fields, do the things that farmers need them to do, and not fail.
Yep.
Is it safe to say most farmers have some version of or need of a sprayer trailer if you're conventional farming?
Will do. Yep.
Yeah. So
everyone has an idea what their better mousetrap is, and we tried to take the best ideas we could,
and just streamline it and make it. Yeah. Cool.
So based on feedback, we have some ideas to enhance it.
Mm-hmm.
Cool.
Thanks, Shaun. You know, I love how Flaman is innovative when it comes to problem solving and finding solutions for its customers. Now it's time for our special guest portion of the program. Our interview was recorded earlier at Ag Business Connect in Regina, so let's head down there now. And today our guest is Ron Kleuskens. He's a technical sales rep for AGI. Welcome to the show.
Thank you very much.
Welcome, Ron.
Happy to be here.
So, Ron, how long have we known each other?
Well, I started with AGI in 2017. So it's been that long, 6 or 7 years now, going on 7 years.
What were you doing before AGI?
I had my own business for just about 20 years, selling farm equipment.
And you're an Ontario guy, right? You're from out east?
Yes, don't hold that against me.
You always been a Eastern guy? You're born and raised?
Yep, born and raised in London, moved around a lot. Eventually ended up where we live now in Lucknow, Ontario, just a little bit north of Goderich off of Lake Huron. Been there for 24 odd years.
You say just off of Lake Huron?
But we're about 15 minutes inland from Lake Huron.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, it's cool. I've seen the lake about 10 times in those 23 years.
Really? Okay, that is not where I was going to go with that. I was going to ask, tell us about life at the lake.
Yeah, no life at the lake. Life at the house.
Why is that?
I have other interests.
You're not a water guy? Not a lake guy?
I like the lake with a beer in my hand at friends' cottages, but cottages are expensive along the lake.
Yeah.
And I didn't buy one.
Is most of the shore covered with cottages in that area?
For the most part.
Yeah.
Anywhere from essentially Tobermory down to Sarnia.
Yeah.
The whole west coast. It is the west coast of Ontario. That's what it's known as.
Really?
Yeah. So it's beautiful.
Are you an acreage guy?
We have about 4 acres just outside of Lucknow, this little village.
Cool.
I can walk home from the arena when I've overindulged.
Nice.
It takes a little bit longer, but it's within striking distance.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yep.
Were you born in a town or
London,
in the country?
London, Ontario.
Born in London, Ontario.
I'm a bricklayer's son.
Oh, really?
Yep.
So what got you into the agriculture game?
So I've been working for an engineering company or a couple of them since I essentially got out of high school. I only went to high school because I wasn't a big fan of school. We moved to Lucan, little town just north of London. We lived there for about 10 years. And during that time, we went to church just in Lucan, met some people there. One guy in particular owned a farm equipment company. We got to be good friends, and I'd help him the odd day on Saturdays and whatnot, fixing stuff. He offered me a job, and I took it.
What were you doing before that?
Geotechnical engineering. I was a technician for them.
Okay.
So I was traveling the country testing concrete and asphalt and soils. And I actually, before I graduated high school, and I only went to grade 12, the summer before, I had a cousin that worked for this geotechnical outfit as a draftsperson.
Mm-hmm.
And she got me in there the summer before I graduated, breaking concrete in the lab. So testing concrete cylinders.
Mm-hmm.
It's essentially grunt work. If you're good with math and strong and weak-minded, don't mind doing some physical activity, was a great job. So they must have liked me, because when I graduated, they offered me a job. I was breaking concrete for a while in the lab. I was only 19 at the time.
Yeah.
And then kind of worked my way up. Ended up doing some pretty cool technical stuff in Beaufort Sea, Vancouver Island, out in the East Coast. Did a lot of traveling around, poked a lot of holes in the ground. It was a lot of fun. I really enjoyed it.
Is there one specific story that you remember from that time being traveling out in BC and anything crazy that happened to you?
There is one. We were working on Vancouver Island. We were doing a soil investigation for an inland highway for some bridges. And when you're building bridges, you're essentially in river valleys or on slopes. We were on this one slope just outside of, I think the name of the town was Parksville. And in order to get the drill rig down to the bottom where the piers eventually would be, we're in the bush here.
Mm-hmm.
They cut switchbacks and corduroy roads in. I was standing on the slope, and it had been raining. I'd been there for 3 weeks, and it had rained for 2.5 of them.
Mm-hmm.
And the slope gave way underneath my feet.
Ooh.
I could feel it moving. It shifted. So I kind of went off to the side, didn't panic too much, and all of a sudden this big slough went right into the river.
No way.
And there was a fish hatchery downstream with a bunch of salmon.
Mm-hmm.
So I hoofed her out of there, jumped in the truck, down to the fish hatchery, told them there's a mudslide upstream and it's headed your way.
Mm-hmm.
This river essentially went right through the hatchery, so they could divert it around and saved all the fish.
Oh, wow.
So I was a friggin' hero.
That's super cool.
It actually was. I was pretty proud of myself. And that got back to Toronto, where the head office was, in London. And the guys in Vancouver offered me a job out there. And I said, I'd love to, but I can't.
Yeah.
Wife doesn't want to come west again.
Yeah.
We had lived in Calgary for a few years. And so, but it was cool.
That's odd. And had you not moved off of where that slope was?
Oh, I'd have been in the river.
Yeah, that's right. That's crazy.
What would the elevation have been?
Oh, probably not that high, maybe 25 feet.
Yeah.
Something like that. Yep.
Interesting.
It was cool. Well, cool. Make a mess of a fish hatchery, but
it didn't. Saved
it didn't save their lives. I was a hero.
Let's talk a little bit about agriculture in the East. Because when you said, like, so to me it's different, and I'll just say it like it's different. We've sold stuff. We've sold grain cleaners out East, and then you try to wrap your head around, a question I always used to ask just to gauge like the size of grain cleaner they would need is like how many acres do you farm? And now I know that's like a question you probably shouldn't really ask. Like people get offended by that a little bit. It's like, well, how much money do you have in your bank account? It's like, well, I'm just like, if I know how many acres you farm, I have a pretty good idea how many bushels you're going to be taking off. So I have then a pretty good idea of the capacity of a cleaner you're going to need.
Yep.
But then I was always surprised as I feel like land is expensive out East compared to what we're used to in the West. And they had a lot less of it. But yet commodity prices, I don't think really, it doesn't work that way. So it was always interesting to me to try and understand what farming in the East looked like.
I'm no absolute expert, guaranteed.
Yeah.
But the land that most of the guys in the East farm will be considerably less than here. Like a good
acres wise.
Acres wise.
Yeah.
The yields they get are considerably better than here.
Okay.
Like by a lot.
Better dirt.
More consistent rain.
Okay.
We have to put
that would make sense. Yeah.
We have to tile the ground to get rid of the water. I doubt there's a tile in the ground out here. very few.
Yeah.
Because you want as much water as you can. So we literally have to get rid of water. And ground gets tiled every year.
So you're trapped between all that water, all those lakes.
In southern Ontario, we've got 3 lakes or 4 lakes all around us. Yeah. We're surrounded by water. Doesn't matter which way the wind blows, it's blowing over a lake.
Yeah.
Do people irrigate there?
Very little. Hardly ever. In the vegetable belt north of Toronto.
Yeah.
The Holland Marsh.
Yeah.
I think they still do some irrigating up. Well, they will because it's very expensive ground and they get incredible crops off of it.
How many inches of rain would you receive annually?
Oh, I couldn't tell you. No idea. Lots.
Yeah.
All kinds. More than enough. Too much because we got to get rid of it.
Yeah, exactly.
No doubt. No doubt.
What are some common crops they grow in the East?
For the most part, it's corn, beans, wheat, a little bit of canola. You don't see too many canola fields. For sure, there's grapes. You get down into Niagara, there's vineyards all over the place. Vegetable belt north of Toronto, vegetables down towards Windsor, Leamington area, growing tomatoes and cucumbers. It's a big business down there. So there's other things, barley, and I'm sure there's the odd hemp field out there and some malt barley fields. But for the most part, it's wheat, beans, and corn.
So I think back to the grain cleaners that I've been a part of selling out East. Beans was a big deal. So I think there were seed treaters that we sold out East as well, and it was beans. Beans was a big deal. Yeah. So
do a lot of soybeans, some edible beans, kidney beans, all that sort of stuff. There's a lot of specialty guys around. A lot of organic guys actually also.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, organic. Don't know how they manage to make a living out of it with all the weeds that they have to deal with.
Yeah, that's why they need cleaners.
Cost of the ground, they need cleaners. Absolutely. Yeah. Everything they grow gets cleaned.
Yeah.
There's a field behind me that is organic, and it looked like a ragweed field. It was perfect. But if you actually look down, there were beans down there.
Oh, interesting.
Incredible.
When you started with selling agriculture equipment, what were you selling? What did the business look like?
For myself?
Yeah.
It was a typical small farmstead business where I dealt with stabling, barn stabling, feeding equipment for cattle and pigs, and kind of dabbled in grain handling stuff. It wasn't the biggest part of my business, manure handling, anything to do with feeding animals.
So how did it translate into you being actively involved with dryers and handling? And
it just progressed as time went on. When we were living up there, quota for cattle, for milk cows, was going through the roof. A lot of the local farmers were getting up in age. So rather than throwing $1 million at a new barn or $2 million at a new barn, sell the quota, get a bunch of chickens. So my livestock base was getting eroded over time. So we just kind of slowly transitioned into grain handling, doing more bins. We'd always done bins.
Yeah.
We'd always done stirring dryer bins, not continuous flow dryers. But it just sort of slowly snuck up on us because these guys, once they got rid of their cattle, their milking cattle, they still had all this hay ground that they turned into crop ground.
Yeah.
They need a bin.
So you kept dealing with the same guys.
I was dealing with the same guys, just selling different products.
Oh, yeah. And helping them learn and understand as you were.
Yeah. As I was learning, because I was pulling a lot of stuff out of my backside doing that too. So.
Did you see a difference in character dealing with the Saskatchewan farmers versus the Ontario farmers?
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
What were some of the differences?
I guess the Ontario guys are very familiar with dryers because we dry a lot of corn. All the corn has to get dried.
Yeah.
So dryers aren't new to them. Ontario guys can be a little bit more rammy. The Saskatchewan guys are a little bit more laid back.
I wouldn't have guessed that.
No, I wouldn't have.
A little bit, not a lot. I mean, don't get me wrong. They still want to give her.
Broad
but,
brush. Yeah.
But I found that, they're maybe a little easier to get along with. Ontario guys are super demanding. Not all of them. Same thing.
The guy still lives in Ontario, and he's coming up with this. Like, we're not going to put this on the internet where all the people in Ontario are going to hear it.
Oh, it's all good. I mean, I love them
bugging.
all because they're all my friends. They end up being your
Yeah, for
friends when you're in the dryer business because you see them all the time.
Yeah.
And without you, they're kind of screwed. So they have to be nice to me also.
So did you sell your business then and come on with AGI full time or what happened?
Yeah, I sold the equipment and the inventory. The business itself just went under.
Okay.
It was too tough to find employees, and I wasn't going to lay that on somebody else.
Yeah.
So
You betcha.
I got rid of most of my stuff. I still have a fair bit.
Do you recall what it was like when AGI came in and all of a sudden, bang, you're working for somebody else? What was that transition like?
Well, it took a little while for them to actually pull the trigger and hire me on.
Oh, yeah.
But it was good.
Whose idea was it? Was like, so they buy, we'll call it Global, but essentially
Yeah.
Nico,
Yeah.
and you're selling Nico
Yeah.
products. And then you have this business then that selling dryers.
Mm-hmm.
So how does it, so you could have kept doing that,
Oh, yeah.
but
Yep.
it then all kind of happened at the same time. So how does that conversation go? Whose idea was it? Really like, you guys should hire me? Or was it like, hey, you seem to know what you're doing a bit and you live in Canada?
Yeah.
How does that go?
So I had dealt with a gentleman by the name of Jim Allison in Ontario who worked with AGI. So Jimmy has been with AGI, I'm guessing, 15 years, maybe just under 15 years. And Russ Clausen, I knew from his grain guard days.
Yeah.
So I had dabbled in selling a handful of grain guard bins along with the MFS ones. So I had a bit of a relationship with them and I knew them. And I also sold Westfield augers out of my backyard. So I knew them. And when AGI bought Nico or Global, they needed somebody because I don't know this for sure, but I'm assuming the biggest attraction was Nico at Global. Yeah. They already owned Westfield, so they had a bin line. And everything else that Global had wouldn't have taken much for AGI to do, but the dryer line was what they really were after, I think. Breezy would tell you. But they had no technical expertise in Canada whatsoever. So I was it. So they essentially hired me away for myself.
And you started flying west.
Yep. Pretty much right away.
Yeah, with the employment contract was a WestJet ticket.
Yeah.
You need to.
Yeah. No, it was good.
Do you remember? It was December. I just remember it was like we were approaching Christmas time or something, and that's when I got. Like when did
the first event was agri trade here in Regina. It's the first event I went to. It was outdoor. I remember it vividly. Warren Shimko and Ron Jones had put a dryer together, and I showed up here. I knew none of the guys. Pat McCarthy, who you might remember, was the sales manager at Nico. Yeah, we both showed up here. I mentioned to the guys that they had put something together wrong, and they didn't talk to me for the rest of the day because they had to put this dryer together that they knew nothing about.
Yeah.
Who does this guy
and
think
hated
he is?
me right off the hop. So it's been a lot of beer buying to get that relationship back.
You got there.
Eventually we got there. So so AgriTrade was the first show west for us.
What is a great ultimate day for Ron?
Waking up in the morning?
Yeah, start there.
I don't know. Playing with the grandkids, seeing the grandkids, seeing my son and his wife.
Yep.
Some days going for a ride in the bike, motorcycle that is, not bicycle. I don't bicycle anymore. I'd like to bicycle, but I can't be bothered. Going on a bike trip with some buddies.
You still ride quite a bit in the summer?
No.
No.
I've got a Garage Princess but it's still there, so I can ride it.
Yeah.
Once
in a while.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
fiddling around the house.
Yep.
I like being at home. I also like getting away from home. So
Yeah.
that's why I like this job.
It gets you away once in a while.
It gets me away whenever I feel like it.
Meeting with people.
And meeting some decent people. I mean, Saskatoon's a pretty tough region, but that's all.
Okay.
What's the future hold for you, Ron? What?
Honest, work till I die.
Really?
People that retire die.
Yeah. Slow down and go down.
Exactly.
So the
I
perfect.
have no intention of retiring anytime soon.
Good.
I like what I do.
Yep.
I like the people I work with. You guys also.
Mm-hmm. I like how you separated us out there from the guys you like working
people
with.
I work with.
And you guys are okay too.
Yeah.
I tried to be tactful,
But
it didn't work.
Yeah, I
do
saw what
say-
you did there.
If you enjoy what you do, it'll never be a day of work in your life. So I see what you did there.
You know what? I love working. And I always have. I've never thought of work as drudgery, no matter what job I was doing. Working for a geotechnical engineer may sound pretty glamorous and cool. It was grunt work, brother. Remember? High school student, slopping through cornfields, drilling holes in the ground with drillers for new roads and subdivisions, or out in the bush, standing on landslides. It's grunt work. But I loved it. I was outside all the time. I was essentially my own boss because I was told where to go, what to do. So go and do it.
Mm-hmm.
I've always liked work. I've never not wanted to go to work in the morning. So,
I've never been around you where I feel like you don't want to be there or don't want to be engaged with what we're doing.
Yeah, no.
You're just in it all the time.
I'm always in it.
Yeah.
And it's not I don't consider it a bad thing.
No.
It's what I do.
Yeah.
Some people like getting out and going to the cottage in the weekend and stuff like that. And
Mm-hmm.
I was never built like that. My parents never took holidays. So I don't take holidays.
You're 15 minutes from the lake.
Well, remember, grew up in London, so I was an hour and a half from the lake. But,
Yeah.
So the perfect day of retirement looks like waking up and going to work.
Waking up
Yeah,
and
I think I
that's what
got
the-
there.
yeah, and not
that's
going
what
to the
I
lake. That's what I hear.
Okay. That's how you do it out east. That's fine.
I'm sure eventually I'll end up retiring, but I have no plans right now.
Yeah.
I'm only 62.
Who would have been the most influential or one of the most influential people you've had in your life?
Probably, besides my dad, who had a huge influence on my life, taught me how to work, taught me how to be a man, be honest, et cetera, et cetera. One of the engineers that kind of took me under his wing when I worked for an outfit called Golders, just coming out of high school. Super smart man.
Mm-hmm.
Put me in every one of the worst situations I could ever be put into, but gave me responsibility like nobody else in this outfit, in that company. Put me in situations where I was so far over my head, I had no business being there. So he had a lot of faith in me, and I never wanted to let him down.
Mm-hmm.
A fellow by the name of Phil Bedell, who's a professional engineer. He was probably the one that made me the man that I am today, other than my father.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, it would be him.
That's about the time you started smoking.
No, I actually started smoking in high school. It was cool back in the 70s. Got less cool after I got out of high school.
Thanks for joining us, Ron. Our guest today was Ron Kleuskens, technical sales representative from AGI. I'm your host, Trevor Grinde, along with Mitch Flaman and Regan Kunz. Thank you for listening to Flaman Connect.